This is a love story. The story of every Oregon sports lover's front page affair with the 1976-77 NBA World Champion Portland Trail Blazers. Never in the history of professional sports has a major American city opened its heart as readily to an athletic team as Portland did for its beloved Blazers. From the 5,000 fans who waited hours at Portland International Airport to welcome the team home from Philadelphia, to the 250,000 strong who thronged the streets of Portland in a spontaneous outburst of Blazermania, hardly a heart remained unmoved as the Blazers became unanimously the objects of affection of an entire state. In the 6 years preceding this joyous Valentine's Day, Oregon's love affair with the Blazers, sparked by the acquisition of potential stars, often smoldered and sometimes briefly flickered into flame. Although it didn't actually look that way at the beginning of the 76-77 season, it was destined at last to catch fire.
7 years to glory, the feeling here is good. 7 years to glory, when we knew we always could. Riding on the high side, blazing trails along the way. 7 years to glory, turn me on, turn me in.
Even the 76-77 season began with more fans than fanfare, as a group of strangers assembled whose immediate future held the as yet unheralded aspect of being molded into a superlative team by Coach Jack Ramsey and his assistant Jack McKinney. Only Bill Walton, Larry Steele, Lionel Hollins, Bobby Gross, and Lloyd Neal remained from the 75-76 Blazer team. Obviously, Bill Walton's well-documented injuries had their effect that year, but even when he was well, the team had not had the luster of possible championship challengers. But this was to turn into a year not of promises, but of promise. For the acquisition of rookies Johnny Davis, Robin Jones, and Wally Walker, plus Maurice Lucas and Dave Twardzik from the ABA, with the further addition of Corky Calhoun from Los Angeles and Herman Gilliam from Seattle. The team was still not overwhelming in its credentials, but the combination was beginning to gel.
7 years to glory, the feeling here is good. 7 years to glory, when we knew we always could. What an urge to stay to everyone they know. Took 7 years to glory.
From the opening gun, the tight team concept conceived by Jack Ramsey looked like a winner. And in the beginning, there were flashes of the brilliance to follow. Bill Walton, always a sharp passer, quickly caught on to working with the combinations of Hollins and Gross, Steele and Twardzik, Gilliam and Calhoun. The not yet revealed secret being everyone's talent for anticipation of team members' moves and the ability to weld all the moving parts into a single interacting unit. Through most of the regular season, hardly anybody talked about playoff chances. But it was clear to the most ardent fans that with the Blazers' rapidly improving team play, something special was in the works. Even then, even when the Blazers made the playoffs, pitted against the Chicago Bulls, few people envisioned the NBA trophy in the Portland locker room. The rest, of course, is history. The heartwarming history of a spectacular sports love affair. Looking back, it now appears that there were some clues early in the season that the Blazers could transcend the disappointments of their first 6 years. The first was undoubtedly the arrival of Coach Jack Ramsey. As Bob Robinson reported in the Oregonian, Ramsey, who had arrived from the East only minutes before, has a special look about him. That look made the adrenaline flow, and the bold words that he spoke only added to the intensity of the moment. I feel that this team is like the tip of an iceberg, Ramsey said at that first press conference. The potential hardly has been tapped here. I consider this the best coaching opportunity in the National Basketball Association. The main reason for Ramsey's optimism, it seems, was a 6'11" redhead named Bill Walton. Ramsey was convinced he could build a team around him, and build he did. As the fall training camp segued into regular season play, Ramsey's attitude became even more optimistic. Predicting that the Blazers would be capable of competing against any team in the league, he set a goal of 45 wins and a playoff berth. Game by game, the skill of the Blazers as a team became more and more obvious even to the not-so-optimistic. The almost poetic grace of the Blazers' ball handling, outlet passing, backdoor passing, rebounding, blocking, offensive speed, defensive strength, shooting from the top of the key, shooting from the free throw line, ball stealing, and the awesome fast break that struck fear into the hearts of all opposing teams. One of the tributes to Ramsey's original team concept was that he could mix and match the regular starters with reserves at will and still have a formidable team. The Blazers, by conceding that their team had no stars, were all stars. To the thrill of the now completely enamored fans, the Blazers in regular season play did exactly what Ramsey had predicted they'd do. They won, sometimes by lopsided scores, like their 146-104 drubbing of the 76ers. As the Blazers continued to win, the greatest love affair since Romeo and Juliet continued to blossom, and sold-out signs were a permanent fixture at the Coliseum. The Chicago Bulls were considered the hottest team in the league coming into the playoffs for their best-of-3 confrontations with the Blazers. They were not only hot, they also promised some classic matchups. For instance, Chicago's Artis Gilmore against Bill Walton, Mickey Johnson versus Maurice Lucas. Lucas led the Blazers to a 96-83 victory in the first game. The Bulls evened it up with a 107-104 win in the second, and Holland's clutch basket cinched the Blazers' 4-point win in the third and final game. The Train's 20-footer from the top of the key gave the Blazers a 102-98 lead with only 15 seconds remaining and cut the heart out of a Bulls rally that had threatened to turn Portland's NBA title dream into a nightmare. The final game in this hotly contested series left a Memorial Coliseum crowd of 12,520 a bit limp at the finish when the Blazers had nearly thrown away a 92-77 lead. And now the Blazers face the Denver Nuggets in a best-of-7 series to decide who would go on to play either the Los Angeles Lakers or the Golden State Warriors. The Nuggets presented quite a challenge, a double challenge, in fact. They were playing very well, with superstar David Thompson leading the pack, and they had the home court advantage, which meant the Blazers had to win in McNichols Arena, where they had done less than brilliantly earlier in the season. To Bobby Gross fell the job of keeping David Thompson in line, the job of grounding this airborne player who doesn't even begin to shoot until he is even with the 6-row seats. In the first game, an 8-foot turnaround jump shot by Maurice Lucas gave Portland a 1-point win. In the second game, the Blazers ran afoul of the officials, losing Walton with 7:36 left in the game, still managing to stay alive until the last 3 minutes, and then losing 121-110. Back at Portland's Memorial Coliseum for the third game, a quarter of reserves rescued the Blazers from a 3-point deficit midway into the second half and guard Herman Gilliam added 3 big points in the last 15 seconds to give the Blazers a 2-1 edge in this quarterfinal series. Portland won that one by 4 points. After the 4th game, the April 27th Oregonian sports page headline read, "Gross and Company devalue Nuggets 105-96. The Nuggets struggled back in the 5th game to beat the Blazers 114-105 in overtime. The game in which Dave Twardzik suffered such a severe ankle sprain that his starting in the 6th game was in serious doubt. In the 6th and final game, it was Davis in for Dave, as rookie Johnny Davis, substituting for injured Dave Twardzik, electrified Portland fans with a career-high 25 points and helped Portland scoot into the semifinals with a 16-point win. The press best expressed the feelings of the by now ecstatic Portland fans when the team was scheduled to face the Lakers in the Los Angeles Forum. The Blazers had been blazing away, had done a good job, had handled clutch situations masterfully, and had come all the way to the West Coast Finals. But were we finally asking just a bit too much? Here we were asking them now to beat the team with the best record in the league in a series that would probably prove a thrilling shootout between big guns Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and our own wonderfully injury-free Bill Walton. Little did we know then what the outcome was to be. One thing we did know, we were all darn proud of the Blazers, come what may. Is there anybody in the entire sports world who doesn't know the Blazers took the Lakers 4 straight? Doubtful. With an incandescent rookie named Johnny Davis still filling in for Dave Twardzik. Bill Walton's almost hypnotic control over Jabbar. Gilliam's brilliant play in the 2nd game. Lionel Hollins' validated license to steal for the entire series. In fact, one of the most exciting displays of completely coordinated and confident teamwork in the history of sports. The Blazers for sure now look like winners all the way. Jack Ramsey's incomparable coaching, his irreproachable casting for the Blazers' biggest show in 7 years was at last paying off, beyond our wildest regular season yearnings. And so the Blazers sped toward what was now the possible dream, an NBA championship. Taking the first game in LA by 16 points, the second game by 2, fired by Herman Gilliam's hottest shooting streak, the third game by 5, with Bill Walton putting on an awesome offensive display, and the fourth game by 4 at home in Memorial Coliseum before a revved-up crowd of over 12,000 fans. Never was Jack Ramsey's team play concept more in evidence than during the Blazers' 4-game raid on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Blazers by then were, in fact, red hot and rolling. Ask when he first realized that the Blazers were capable of going for the championship. Bill Walton said, "I guess it was the day I met Luke and Herm. I knew they could play, and I knew we already had players with Train, Bobby, and Lloyd, and Dave Twardzik surprised me. I didn't know anything about him." Ask about Johnny Davis. Walton replied, "Yeah, you know, we haven't lost a game since he's been in the starting lineup." All of which gets us around to the fact that the team concept is not just a way to play. A lot of it has to do with the way the players feel about each other. When you look at Chicago and Artis Gilmore, Denver and David Thompson, Los Angeles and Jabbar, Philadelphia's Dr. J, it seems incredible that between Portland's multitude of talented players, there were no Star Wars. Just complete concentration on timing, teamwork, anticipation, and complete dedication to the dream of an NBA championship to present to Portland with love. Blazermania was budding in the hearts of Oregonians as the Trailblazers traveled to Philadelphia to take their finals. The love affair had turned from mild adulation to out-and-out public devotion. But the sports lovers had not reckoned with the Blazer layoff. In the first game at Philadelphia Spectrum, Julius Erving, the dreaded Dr. J, served up a bitter pill in the shape of a 6-point defeat. Dave Twardzik was back in the game, displaying an obvious lack of mobility and some pain. Gross fouled out late in the game. Hollins drew 3 early fouls and had to pull back somewhat on his defense of 6'6" Doug Collins. In Game 2, Collins scored 27 points, and Dr. J added another 20 to lead a high-powered Philadelphia attack that resulted in their 18-point win. In Game 3, for the 3rd time in a row, Philadelphia scored a total of 107 points. But it just wasn't good enough. Just when the going got rough, Bill Walton went into his now famous hand-over-hand routine, which freely translated means, "Come on, guys, let's get it together." And Portland blazed its way to a 22-point win. The Blazer bonfire burning, the love affair in full bloom, Portland singed the 76ers in the 4th game, winning by 32 points back home at Memorial Coliseum. Lucas struck the match that ignited the 3rd period with outstanding assistance from Hollins, Davis, and Neal.
Seven years to glory. The feeling here is good. 7 years to glory. We knew we always could. We're riding on the high side, blazing trails along the way. 7 years to glory, champions of the NBA.
As the Oregonian's Bob Robinson wrote on June the 4th, defense, the Portland Trail Blazers' lifeblood, provided the opportunity Friday night, and the Blazers pounced on it for a 110-104 victory over the Philadelphia 76ers. A sellout crowd of 18,276 at the smoke-filled Spectrum booed and heckled the Blazers, but couldn't keep them from their goal, a breakthrough against the Sixers' home court advantage in the series.
7 years to glory. The feeling here is good. 7 years to glory. We knew we always could. Portlanders are saying to everyone they know, it took 7 years to glory. This is our story.
The Monday, June 6 papers screamed Blazers win, and win they did, if only by a heart-stopping 2 points. All in all, between the first 2 games and the last, Blazer fans had many opportunities for cardiac arrest. Jack Ramsey's concept of on-court togetherness had made our team #1 in the world. With superb poise, the Blazers doused a late Sixers brush fire. Walton, the chief, enjoyed one of his most fantastic days, but he wasn't alone. As Luke said, nobody on this team was a star. Everybody knew their job and did it. We were a team all the way. Today, Blazermania continues to reign unchecked from the population centers of Oregon to the farthest corners of the state. It's more than just a gleaming trophy and the traditional championship rings, much more. It is timing, teamwork, superb players, outstanding coaching, and supremely loyal fans. What it all adds up to is 7 years to glory, and the feeling in Portland is good.